have you noticed you're paying twice as much just to drink something that used to be as cheap as tap water? It's not wine, not imported energy drinks. We're talking about the most ordinary beverages, the ones every American family grew up with, and now they've suddenly turned into a heavy burden on the grocery bill. At Walmart, Costco, and countless other major supermarkets, the price of 5 everyday drinks has quietly doubled. Not a few extra cents. Doubled, you heard that right. A massive wave of price hikes, all justified under the labels of inflation, rising ingredient costs, and a profit-first mindset that puts workers' struggles dead last. This video will walk you through 5 common drinks that are squeezing consumers harder than ever. And if you still think it's just drinks, how much could it be? Maybe it's time you looked a little closer at your last grocery receipt. Number 1, orange juice. Do you remember when a carton of orange juice under $4 was more than enough to last the week? Well, brace yourself, because in just the past few months, shoppers at Walmart, Costco, and Target have been left stunned as the price of orange juice has nearly doubled. This isn't some luxury import. It's the same pasteurized orange juice that used to be a staple in working-class grocery carts, now turning into the kind of item you hesitate to pick up. So what happened? Florida, once proudly known as America's Orange Belt, is going through its worst harvest in nearly a century. In 2024, the USDA reported that orange production in the state fell more than 60% compared to historical averages. And in 2025, things are showing no signs of recovery. The culprit, citrus greening disease, extreme weather, and skyrocketing fertilizer and labor costs. Fewer farms, higher input prices. And guess who's stuck paying for the difference? The answer is obvious: the end consumer. To fill the gap, juice processors have had to import oranges from Brazil and Mexico. But here's the kicker: the tariffs reimposed in 2025 have only made things worse. Import taxes on agricultural goods are not only raising costs, but also disrupting a supply chain that was already fragile after the pandemic. When every container of oranges from South America carries an extra 20 to 30% in taxes and shipping fees, suddenly, that jump from $3.99 to $6.79 a carton doesn't look so unusual anymore. If it were just about prices going up, maybe people could grit their teeth and deal with it. But here's the real kicker: quality and quantity are quietly shrinking too. Shrinkflation, a word Americans have become all too familiar with, isn't just hitting snacks and cereal. Even orange juice cartons have been downsized from 64 ounces to 59 ounces, while the price stays the same or climbs higher. Have you noticed it? That feeling of drinking a glass of orange juice no longer feels like a refreshing start to the day, but more like a pang of guilt. Guilty if you buy it, guilty if you don't, because breakfast feels incomplete without it. For older folks, orange juice was once a natural source of vitamin C, a simple boost for immunity, bone health, and digestion. For kids, it was the taste of childhood tucked into a school lunchbox by mom. Now, how many families have been forced to swap it out for a cheap powdered orange drink instead? Plenty of shoppers looking at their receipts have blurted out, "If orange juice is a luxury, now what do we have left?" That's not just an offhand complaint. That's the real feeling of being stripped of the basics. Because when the smallest, most familiar parts of daily life start to slip out of reach, the sense of security in this society begins to crack. And the worst part, there's no clear end in sight. Agricultural forecasts suggest orange juice prices could keep swinging through the rest of the year, especially if the government fails to step in with consumer support or tariff relief. Can you believe that a country once proud of abundance and endless choices now makes people second-guess a simple glass of orange juice in the morning? Nobody thought it would happen, but it has. And it is happening right now, and this is only the first drink on the list. Just wait to see what comes next. Number 2, coffee. In less than 2 months, the price of some familiar coffee brands at Walmart and Costco has forced shoppers to put the box right back on the shelf. A 40-ounce bottle of Dunkin' Cold Brew that used to cost under $5 is now pushing $8. A box of Green Mountain K-Cups that once went on sale for $13 now sits firmly at nearly $20, and that's before state taxes. Even fans of Great Value ground coffee, Walmart's own brand, have noticed the jars shrinking in size while the price inches up week by week. The common thread here isn't just the numbers, it's the feeling of losing control. Because coffee, whether it comes in a plastic tub, a filter pack, or a ready-to-drink can, has always been treated as part of a fixed budget, almost sacred to working-class Americans. This isn't a luxury. This is the bare minimum to keep life moving each morning. You might not have noticed it at first, but think back. Not long ago, $10 at the grocery store could get you a bag of coffee that lasted a week. Now with that same amount, you're stuck choosing between a smaller bag or a lower quality blend. That feeling of being forced to choose is what frustrates people even more than the higher price itself. Some are skipping coffee at home to save for the coffee shop. A strange paradox. Others switch to cheap instant packets, even though they know it doesn't taste the same. And some simply cut back sipping less each day. But no matter the choice, everyone is circling the same question: why has coffee itself turned into a problem? And if you think this is temporary, take a closer look at the reasons. Imported coffee beans are carrying two heavy burdens, skyrocketing logistics costs since the pandemic, and retaliatory tariffs between the US and major supplier nations. Shipments from South America and Southeast Asia, which make up the bulk of America's coffee supply, now cost hundreds or even thousands more per container thanks to new trade protection policies. The problem is these policies don't hit the big corporations. They fall straight on consumers. You don't need to be an expert to see it. Just notice how quickly the jar empties when you open it in the morning, or how you hesitate at checkout because you don't want to pay $18 for something that used to be $9. For many, coffee is that rare pause in a busy day. It's what keeps them awake through an extra shift, through a sick child, through a pile of bills. And now that small pause is being priced out in the most unreasonable way. Nobody is saying this outright on TV. But in the supermarket parking lot, at the office desk, in the kitchen after breakfast, people can feel it. Every dollar slipping away, every habit being broken. And what's being lost isn't just money. It's stability. It's that small sense of control that once made life feel manageable. Number 3, Arizona iced tea. There's one drink many Americans once believed would never change its price. For over 30 years, the number was bold, bright, unshakable, 99 cents. Printed right on the can, like a promise, like a quiet rebellion against inflation. That promise helped make Arizona iced tea one of the most down-to-earth icons in American supermarkets. But some things, no matter how hard you fight to preserve them, just can't last forever. Since the start of 2025, Arizona has been quietly shifting its packaging and distribution, and the 99-cent label is no longer everywhere. In many states, prices have crept up to $1.25, even $1.39 at convenience stores and some major supermarkets. Even Walmart, which held Arizona's price steady for more than a decade, has begun to show small increases on certain flavors, while others have simply disappeared from the shelves. So what's going on? First, the cost of aluminum cans and plastic bottles has spiked like never before. Since the U.S. slapped tariffs on imports from Canada and Asia, the price of aluminum has jumped more than 40%. And here's the thing, Arizona iced tea doesn't use paper cartons. Their brand identity is built on aluminum cans. More expensive cans mean higher packaging cost higher shipping costs. And if the company kept the price at 99 cents, they would be taking massive losses. Second, labor and fuel costs are also rising. Packaging plants in New Jersey, California, and Texas have been forced to raise wages to keep workers. Meanwhile, diesel prices tied to global volatility have driven up transportation costs week after week. And finally, the uncomfortable truth, even consumer faith, that deeply American belief that there will always be a cheap option on the shelf is starting to crack. If even the 99-cent iced tea can't hold the line, what else can people trust to stay the same? Do you feel that too? It's not just about a higher price. It's the creeping sense that simple things are slipping out of reach. What used to be the taste of summer, the drink you tossed into your bag or your truck without a second thought, now makes you pause to double-check the sticker price. And while Arizona has promised to keep that 99-cent tradition alive as long as possible, the market isn't waiting around for one company to keep its word. Their sidelines, like Green Tea Energy or RX Energy Herbal Tonic, have already gone up in price since the second quarter of this year. Some classic flavors still sell for 99 cents in certain states, but that's only because of cuts to packaging costs and a reliance on less volatile ingredients. So what can consumers do? A few practical things. First, if Arizona iced tea is your go-to drink, pay attention to local store promotions. Walmart and Costco aren't always the cheapest. Second, if what you're really after is just that cold, sweet tea taste, try brewing your own tea bags with lemon and ice. It costs a fraction, and you can control the sugar. And third, look at the larger formats. Arizona gallons or bigger bottles are still more affordable when you break it down by the ounce. Of course, nobody wants to crunch numbers over a simple iced tea. But this is the reality many Americans are living with. And if you feel let down, that a brand once known for holding the line for the working class is now starting to waver, you're not alone. Prices may change, but that feeling of being left behind, when the familiar slowly drifts out of reach, lingers much longer in the hearts of consumers. Number 4, canned soft drinks. Who among us hasn't carried home a 12-pack of soda after a grocery run? It's practically the default choice. Whether it's Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, or Mountain Dew. Quick, cheap, refreshing something we're used to grabbing without even thinking. But what happens when even the default starts to feel suspicious? At big chains like Walmart and Target, a 12-pack of canned soda that once sold for about $4.99 has now climbed past $8.29, even higher in parts of the Northeast. This increase didn't come all at once, but gradually in waves. So many shoppers didn't notice until they compared their monthly bills. And that's not all. Look closely and you'll see that many packs now have only 10 cans instead of 12. Some fruit-flavored lines come in smaller cans, yet the price is still higher. This isn't just about inflation. This is psychological sleight of hand, making people believe they're paying the same price when in reality they're getting less. And so, almost instinctively, people start cutting back buying a pack every 2 weeks instead of every week stocking the fridge only for the weekend instead of keeping it full. But how much can you really cut? For many working-class families, soda isn't just a drink. It's a little reward after a long day. It's what you share at a backyard BBQ. It's the thing kids cheer for when they open the fridge. And sadly, that feeling is fading away. Some have turned to no-name sodas, the cheaper generic labels. But in the end, they still find themselves asking, why is the same soda, the same recipe, the same flavor suddenly 50% more expensive in less than a year? The reasons come down to 3 layers of impact. First, aluminum tariffs remain the most quiet but most damaging factor. Soda cans are sourced from multiple suppliers, mostly in Canada and Asia. The new import tariffs rolled out in early 2025 have been driving up costs week by week. Second, sugar costs. The core ingredient in soda are climbing at a staggering pace. The US once relied on cheap sugar imports from developing countries, but now, many of those nations are retaliating with stricter quotas pushing prices higher. Third, marketing, advertising, and the nationwide logistics machine have all become dramatically more expensive in today's cutthroat competition between brands. And as always, those costs get passed straight down to consumers. But the real frustration isn't just about the price, it's about the attitude. When consumers are treated as if they won't notice, won't care, will simply accept anything, that's when trust begins to break. Have you felt that? It's not just that a can of soda costs a few cents more. It's what it represents: every sip being calculated, every can, every ounce, every penny. The cost isn't just in dollars. It's in the erosion of trust. The belief that what you're buying is fair, clear, and honest. And while major corporations continue reporting record profits quarter after quarter, regular people, the ones tossing soda packs into their carts without a second thought, are starting to think twice. And when even the smallest, simplest choices begin to feel uneasy, those so-called safe zones in consumer life don't really exist anymore. Number 5, milk. In many states, especially across the Midwest and Northeast, the price of a gallon of whole milk has officially crossed the $5 mark. At some Target or Kroger stores, that number now hovers between $5.39 and $5.79, depending on the area and time of year. Just last year, the national average was about $3.80. That means in less than 12 months, milk prices have surged more than 40%. But here's the bigger point. Milk isn't a choice. Milk is a necessity. Unlike soda or iced tea, things you can cut back on, swap out, or skip entirely. Milk is different. For seniors, it's a source of calcium. For kids, it's breakfast. For patients, it's nutrition. And for millions of working-class American families, it's something the fridge must always have, no matter how high the price climbs. Some people assume that because America is an agricultural giant, because states like Wisconsin and California are still dotted with dairy farms, the price of milk should be stable. The truth is the opposite. In the past 2 years, more than 3,000 small dairy farms have shut down for good. Why? They couldn't survive the rising costs of feed fuel and equipment maintenance. And most importantly, government subsidies simply didn't keep pace with the market. In fact, some farms have resorted to dumping surplus milk because selling it wouldn't even cover the cost of shipping it to the plant. It sounds absurd, but it's happening quietly every single day. When supply shrinks and raw material costs climb, processing plants are left with two choices: cut production or raise prices. They've chosen the second option, because either way consumers are forced to buy. Have you noticed how a half-gallon carton now costs almost what a full gallon used to just a few years ago? Or how almond milk, soy milk, and coconut milk, once seen as cheaper alternatives, have now followed the same path, in some cases becoming even more expensive. And so we're beginning to see some unsettling scenes: older folks comparing brand by brand at the dairy case, single moms biting their lip and picking the low-fat option because it's 30 cents cheaper, retirees doing the math on whether to buy whole milk or the watered-down version. When those questions creep into the minds of everyday shoppers, trust in affordable essentials is already broken. The irony is that while households are cutting back, several major retailers and big dairy conglomerates continue reporting quarterly profit growth. Those numbers don't show up on discount signs. They show up in shareholder reports. So what exactly are we sustaining here? A system built to protect consumers, or a marketplace where even milk has become a luxury? You can decide to skip soda, you can give up coffee, but if milk itself, one of the most basic parts of daily life, now makes people hesitate before they buy what comes next. We used to toss orange juice, milk, or soda into the cart without thinking. Now each one feels like a calculation. When all 5 of the most common drinks, from coffee to iced tea, climb in price at the same time, this isn't about individual brands anymore. It's a signal that the economy is forcing people to sacrifice even the smallest comforts. And that leads to one question. If simple routines like a morning cup of coffee or a glass of milk before bed become a burden, then where exactly is the line for a fair society?
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.